Hi, everyone. I'm Paul with MadCap Software. We're going to talk in this video about Contributor from the author perspective in MadCap Flare. All right, so before we jump right into it, just a few things. What I'm going to cover in this video, first of all, is I'm going to talk about just a few things that you should ask yourself, that you should consider before you actually get into it. And then we're going to get into the review process, because Contributor is used for reviews. You want different subject matter experts, SMEs, to look at things. And so you send it out for review, they send it back. And then third, we're going to talk about the contribution process, because not only can Contributor be used for reviews, but also contributions. So that subject matter expert might initiate a document, just create one and then send it to you, and then you integrate it into your Flare project. So that's what we're going to cover in this section. I also do want to bring up that Contributor is our desktop solution for reviews and contributions. We also do have MadCap Central, which is a cloud-based. So Contributor's desktop, Central is cloud. And it's really about your preference. So you can absolutely use either one. Each one has its advantages. For example, Contributor, you have a lot of options in the interface in Contributor. Subject matter experts can insert, add all kinds of things. Whereas with Central, the editor is more simplified, which might actually be better for your case. And the process for having multiple reviewers is a bit more streamlined. So each one has its strengths. Now, if you want to know more about Central, at the very end of this video, there's a link and you can watch that video too, in case you're just checking this out. But maybe you've already gotten Contributor and you just want to figure it out. That's what we're going to talk about here in this video. Now, again, this is from the author perspective. So we're going to really be spending time in Flare and what the author is doing. And I have another video on the subject matter expert perspective. And so that is at the very end of this video too. So if you want to then go in and see, all right, what's happening on that end in Contributor for that person, what are they doing? What are the steps they're going through? You want to know, check that out. All right, now, before we actually get into Flare and start working through these processes, just a few things that you should consider or ask yourself before you get going. Number one is, what method are you going to use to transfer the files? Because you have a few options here. Number one, you can do email. And Flare and Contributor have this built-in integration that you can use. So you might want to use that. Although we'll talk a little bit about it later. There is something that you need to make sure is set on your system in order to be able to do that. Second, you can use email just regular. So even if you don't have the built-in integration, you can still use email to pass files back and forth. Number three is a shared directory. And you could do that in a couple of ways. You could just put files up on a network drive. And in that case, Flare also has built into it something called external resources. And that just makes it quicker to access these things that are up on the network directory. But you don't have to use the external resources. You can still just kind of put things up there on the network. Or you could use something like SharePoint. So if you've got a SharePoint server set up and that's what you use in your company, you can do that as well. So those are the methods. Now, another thing is Flare also has a little feature in it that can be really useful for contributions and reviews using this. And that is that you can lock down certain content. So maybe you want a reviewer to not even mess with certain parts of a topic, or when they're contributing a document, you're going to provide them with the template and you're going to just lock down certain things that you just want them to leave alone. So we're going to go over that. Another thing is snippets. So if you're a Flare author, you've been using it for a while, you know all about snippets, how you can have those in a topic. Well, those can be part of reviews that you send. And so when a reviewer, when a SME gets that, they can open up the snippet separately and insert it, or you could leave the snippet out of the review if you think that's just going to confuse your reviewers, and you can just tell them, you can instruct them, hey, insert comments, around this stuff that you can't open, if you want to do it that way. And finally, this video is really about a Flare author and subject matter experts, people who aren't using Flare, they're using Contributor. Now, what if you have to do reviews with other Flare authors in the same project? Well, you don't need to use this process. It's actually really simple. You can just do your reviews in Flare. You could just ask some other author on your team, hey, can you review these things? And they go in and they go to the review ribbon and they turn on tracking and they do review it, and then they let you know, and you just go back and forth that way. So yeah, so if you're doing peer reviews with authors, you don't need to do it. Okay, those are the initial things I wanted to talk about. Now let's jump into the review process and see how it works. Okay, so let's go through the review process. And because I said you got multiple options here for how to transfer files or different things that you can use, I'm going to take you through just a few different scenarios so you can see how they work. All right, so we're going to begin by sending a single topic to a reviewer, and we're going to do this through email. Now, I've got a little project open here. I'm going to open up this topic, attractions. And okay, so a couple of things before we send it for review. Number one is this topic has a snippet in it. You can see it right there. All right, and it is right there. There's the separate file. Okay, now the other thing is I said that you could lock down certain content if you don't want people to be able to edit them. So let's say you want to do that. All right, let's just select this content right here. I don't know why you wouldn't want somebody to be able to edit about Zilker Park in Austin, but let's say you don't. All right, so you select that, go to your review ribbon, and then you've got this drop down, this lock one in here. And you, the locked elements, that's just going to let you see what's been locked. Enable locks is, it's going to enable this feature. And then whatever you selected, this is going to actually put it into practice. All right, so you select that, and now it's sort of like a snippet that you can't click in it and edit it. So it's going to prevent people from being able to mess with that. All right. Okay. So we've done that. Now we just want to send this for review. Now, easy way to do it is right here on the review ribbon, just click send for review, opens up this wizard. Now the wizard loads whatever files are pertinent in here. And so we had our attractions topic open, and it has the snippet within it. So it automatically included that. And I could click this plus button and add more if I wanted to. Now, if you don't want to include the snippet file, you could select it and just click this to remove it. Now, people will still see the content for that snippet in the review file, but they're just not going to be able to open that snippet file separately. If you don't want to include well, whether you do or not, you could just instruct your reviewers to add comments, annotations around snippets if you want. So you've got options here. All right, now down here, you want to select send a review package file. And you, because if you selected this one, it would go through the MadCap Central process. We don't want that. Give the package a name. By default, it's using the name of my project, which is my project, very original. But you probably want to do something that's a little more specific. So we're talking about, let's see, Austin attractions. So I can give it that name. I'm not going to worry about these other advanced fields down here. You can read more about those in the online help. But we're going to do the most typical, the simplest process right here, and just click next. And so what this does is it brings up this page where you can integrate with email. And so you can edit the subject line that reviewers are going to get. You can edit the body of the text. All right. And then you click on this and you add email recipients, and it'll add them in these rows, and you can click that to set up your email. All right. Simple enough. But here's the thing. you need to make sure that your Flare and Outlook, Microsoft Outlook versions match. So if you've got Flare 64-bit, you need to make sure your Outlook is 64-bit. If you've got Flare 32-bit, you need to make sure Outlook is 32-bit. Now, I happen to have a situation where I have Flare 64-bit and Outlook 32-bit, so I can't use this. But that's okay. This is just an option in here. If I had matching and I wanted to use this, I would just select the email recipients and click send, and it would attach the review package file and away it goes. But that's okay. If you have a situation like mine, what you do is you just back up and instead you click save, which is what I'm going to do here. All right, so that opens up this dialog, and now you can just go save this anywhere you want. And I happen to have this subfolder here in my documents folder called My Review Packages. I'm going to put it there and just click save. All right, it says, all right, it's saved. There we go. All right, so now what I do is I just open up I'm not going to go through the steps of showing you how to attach an email and send it, because everybody knows how to do that. But that's what you do. You would attach it to an email, send it off, and your reviewer gets it. All right, so then your reviewer gets it, they open it up, and they deal with it in Contributor. Okay, so let's say a little bit of time has gone by. The person has dealt with it in Contributor, they saved it, and they emailed it back to you. So then you just save it, the attachment, wherever you want. You could replace the original review package file if you want, or you could give it a different name or put it in a different location. It's up to you. All right, so let's go back into Flare and open it up, the reviewed one, and see what you do next. So I've got my original file open up here. Now what I want to do is I just need to get it into my inbox. So there's an inbox that has to do with reviews, and you open it from here. It's called File Reviews. And right now it's empty. Don't have anything in here. So what I can do is select Import Review Package, go in, find that file, click Open, and it puts it in here. And because I included both the topic and the snippet, those were part of it, they're both in here. And this gives you a little bit of information. If you go to the right, there's 3 changes in this one, no changes in this one. All right, so nothing was done in the monuments one. So I can just click on that one and say, accept the file, because nothing was done. This other one, something's been done. So let's double click it and open it up. Okay, so we see these changes were tracked. And you can see the tab up here. This is the review one, and this is the original. So come in here. Now I can just go through, right click these, and choose whether I want to accept or reject each one of these. And I'm just going to go ahead and accept them all. And I could also use these options here to just do it in bulk if I wanted to. So I saved it. All right. So one more step, though, is we got to accept this back into the project. So you click this little button, accept the file. There it is. And I come back here and I open up the original topic, and you can see there's the content from the reviewer. All right. So that is a very, very simple way to do it. However, let's say that you've got multiple people that you need to send this to. Well, you can still use this method. It's no problem. It's just that you probably want to do it with one person at a time. You send it out for review, get it back, deal with that stuff, then send it to the next person. However, you can, if you're going to put this up on a shared directory, put your review package up there, you could have multiple reviewers working on it at the same time. And then you bring that back in to see their changes. So what we're going to do next is we are going to go through another single topic. And this time we're going to use SharePoint. And we are going to deal with multiple reviewers and see how that works. Now, I'm going to go back into Flare, but I'm actually going into a different project this time. And the reason for that is if you're going to be using SharePoint, you might find that you hit certain snags because SharePoint has certain limitations. For example, if I wanted to send reviews from that last project I had open, well, I've got a really big file in there, an image file, and that is causing problems. So it depends on your project whether or not you're able to do this smoothly. Now, this other project that I have open It doesn't have that. And so I'm going to use that project to go in and do this review process with SharePoint. All right, here's my other project. I'm just going to open up this topic right here. Okay, got a lot of lorem ipsum here. Just give me a moment here and I'll replace this. All right, that's a little bit better here. We've got just a few simple lines of text. All right, so want to send this or put it up on SharePoint. Now, here's what you can do. In Flare, you can select View and come all the way over to SharePoint Explorer. And that is going to open up this window pane over on the left. And you can see I've already got a SharePoint server selected for this. And I select it, whatever I select on the left, it shows the contents on the right. And I've got this folder right here, doc team. All right, so now to add a SharePoint server in here is really easy. You just click this thing, put your server in there, click the little checkbox, click OK, and you're good. And it just loads it with this stuff. All right, so you don't have to do this. It's just this is really nice to have easy access to the SharePoint server. Okay, so I've got my topic. I'm going to go back to the review ribbon and I'm going to select send for review. Once again, I've just got this one topic in here. Going to select send a review package file. I'm going to change this to more information. And I am going to click save because I'm not even going to deal with next because that's the email thing. Now in the dialog, it's the same thing. I can choose wherever I want to go, but because I've got my SharePoint server in here, I'm just going to go all the way down to the bottom and go find this. There's where I want it. All right, there's the review package file. Click save. Okay. And it tells me it was successfully saved. Great. And if you look over here on the left, now you can see there it is. It's loaded in there. So now, as the author, all I need to do is tell my reviewers, because in this scenario, we're going to have 2 reviewers, right? I just need to tell them, hey, this thing that's up, I put it up on SharePoint, and they can do the same thing in Contributor. They can go to the View ribbon and they can go to SharePoint and they can load this in here. And this makes it extra easy for them because then they just go and they just double click it. They don't have to go hunt for it. It's right there. All right, so both of the contributors have used Contributor to open up that file that is on SharePoint, and they've made their changes. So you're in Flare and they let you know, okay, we're both done. And so you've got your SharePoint Explorer open and you can just go and double click it here. It opens up this dialog. Now you don't want to open the package in Flare for review. You want to add it to your inbox. So you click that and click OK. And now you go back in review, file reviews, and there it is. There's the reviewed package. You can see, oh, there's 4 changes in there now. Now you double click this. Okay, and you can see it's not just one person, and you can tell by the initials over here, that's 2 people. And not only was their content added in the same paragraph, there was an image added and there was a list added, all that stuff. And you look through it, and you go, that's all okay, I'm fine with that. And you accept all changes. All right, all done with that. Save, and then again, accept the file. And because a new image was added, saying, okay, we're going to copy this image that isn't in your project, and we're going to put it in your project. And you go, okay, that's good because I need it. And so it adds it in here under images. And of course, if you want to, you can move it somewhere. So yeah, so that is how it will work with SharePoint and multiple reviewers. Now, another thing I want to show you is using external resources in case, like me, you don't use SharePoint. I don't use SharePoint. And I could use the email system, but I kind of like the idea of putting it up on a shared server. So if I were doing this, I might just put it up on a network drive and use external resources. So we're going to do that. We're going to use external resources. And this time we're going to send multiple topics at the same time. All right, I'm back in my original project. And this time I'm going to use external resources. I can come up here to the view ribbon, come over, instead of SharePoint, I'm going to select external resources, but this window pane is a lot like the SharePoint window pane. And you can click this button to go select any folder on your network. And I just already have this one called Flare Topic Reviews that I created up there. And I know that I have access to it and my reviewers have access to it. And so I've just got it up here. Now I have it selected. I don't have anything in there right now, but I'm going to add some stuff. So I want to add multiple topics. For example, let's go into Content Explorer, and you can see I've got 3 different topics in here about music: Austin City Limits, music, and South by Southwest. So one thing I could do is I could come up to View, File List, make sure it's filtered so that I can see topic files or all files, and then I go select, hold down my Control key, select Austin City Limits, music, and South by Southwest, go to my review ribbon, send for review. All right, that is one way. Another thing that you could do is you could send a TOC node. So I'm going to find these topics are in this TOC. And so this is really cool because now when the reviewer opens it up in Contributor, they can actually view it. They can just view, these topics in a grid, but they could also view the TOC, the context, what comes first. And so that's pretty cool. So if you want to do this, all I have to do is, in this case, I can just right click the first node because it contains the others, and I can select send for review, and it includes all 3 in there. Again, select send a review package file. Now it called this one My Project Music. Okay, maybe I just want to keep that one in this case. And I'm going to click save. Now, same thing as before, I get this dialog and it's still in this SharePoint one. I don't want to go there. I want to go to my external resources. I want to go to that folder and I'm going to click save. Right? And it was successfully saved. And if I come back to external resources, there it is. So now I just communicate with my reviewer or reviewers and let them know, hey, go open this thing up. And it's the same thing as SharePoint. In Contributor, they can open up, your reviewers can open up View, External Resources, and they just double click this thing to open it. Now, I'm not going to go through the rest of the process because we've already done that. And it's kind of the same thing that you would do. There are just a couple of additional things I want to bring up before we close out this section. One is, over time, if you do this a lot, you'll get all these review packages that are out there. And you can go back and just, once you have things back in your project, you've accepted them, you have a choice. You can go out there and just get rid of those old review packages if you want, or you can keep them. Maybe you want to maintain an audit trail, just to let you know that you can do some cleanup if you want. Second thing is, if you send topics out for review, it's probably a good idea to not then go into that same topic and start making all kinds of changes. You can, but once you bring those review packages back in to Flare, you're going to hit conflicts. You're going to get this conflict message, and you'll have to open up the merge tool and make decisions about what things to use and what things not to. And so it's just a little bit of a hassle to have to go through that. So just an FYI, once you send it out for review, it's probably best practice to give your reviewers time to get them back to you. Okay, so we looked at the review process. That's when you send things out to reviewers, they deal with them, send them back to you. Now, let's talk about the other way to do this, and that is the subject matter expert is going to use Contributor to initiate, to create a brand new document, and they're going to send it to you so that you can bring it into your Flare project. Okay, so there are 2 parts to this, and the first one here is optional, and that is you could create a contribution template and send that, first of all, to your subject matter experts. So you might do this if you want topics to have a certain structure, certain content already in them, and you want, when they create these new documents, you want them to use that to kind of color within the lines. Otherwise, they could just create a brand new contribution topic in Contributor and just send it to you without that. So let's look at the creation of a contribution template first of all. All right, so in Flare, I've already created this topic right here called procedure topic template. The idea being, I just want placeholder stuff in here. And so I used like these brackets in here just to let them know that, hey, you're supposed to replace this with your own thing, the heading and the overview, and then, you know, these steps. Always use how to, and then complete whatever you're talking about, and then replace the steps. And then I also put in a snippet in here because don't want them to always have to type something different for the completion of the process of the procedure. I always want them to tell them to save your work. And so the snippet is right here. But the other thing I could do is in that snippet, I could just lock this so that people aren't changing it. So I could go to the review and marked. So now they can't go in and edit that snippet and change it. It's just locked down. All right. So that is the first part of this. So now you need to save this as a contribution template. And what you do is you go to File, you save as contribution template. And what you should do is create the default folder for this is in your documents folder, and it's called My Contribution Templates. So it's probably best to just have that folder in there, use that, and here's the name for it. You just click Next. Now it's going to it computes dependencies. So you can see it's looking at all the folders and files in your structure, and the check mark lets me know something's going on here. And I expand that and it goes, oh, it's not just that topic. This template also includes this snippet that you included and the style sheet. You go, okay, we'll just include all of that. Click Next. And there are also some other project files in here, which are dependencies, the conditions and the variable sets. And you decide whether you want to include these as part of it. And then you will just click Finish. And that will add it to that folder, all right, to that in your documents, My Contribution Templates. So at that point, you just send that to your subject matter experts and you tell them, hey, whenever you create a new contribution file for me, use this when you're writing about procedures. You figure out the communication with your subject matter experts, and then they are going to when they create a new document, they're going to point to that template and it's going to have the pieces in place for them. They'll create it, send it back to you. All right, so some time's gone by. A subject matter expert has used Contributor to create a new document and they get it to you. Now, again, just like the review process, they can send it to an email. You can put it up. They can put it up on a share drive, SharePoint, whatever method you decide you want to use. But now you want to get it back into Flare. Well, so let's go in and let's see how that happens. So first of all, however you get that document, one thing that you can do is you can create in your documents folder, you can create a subfolder called My Incoming Contributions. And if you bring that that file that they send you, an MCCO file, if you put it in there, it's going to automate this just a little bit. But if you don't do that, that's fine. You can still get it. So in Flare, you come to the View ribbon all the way over on the right, Contributions. And because I saved that document that they sent in that particular folder that was named like that, it's in here. Now, if I saved it somewhere else, I could still click on this button right here to import the contribution document, go find it, and it'll bring it in here. And once it's in here, you just double click it. And this message just lets you know, hey, you're reviewing this contribution document. You got to accept it to bring it into Flare because otherwise it's not doing anything. So you can do that. You can then select Accept Topic. And now it brings up this wizard. And it is letting you select some options here. Okay, so the file name for this particular one, the that the subject matter expert sent is called How to Set Options. All right. And now you get to select, it shows you your structure from your project, your content files, and you can select where you want to put it. Well, in this case, maybe it makes sense to put it in procedure topics. All right. Click next. And now it's telling me, hey, you got a couple of conflicts in here. So click next and see, well, what's going on here? All right. There are a couple of these files. Remember when you created the contribution template, it also included the snippet file and the style sheet file. So it's just bringing these back in and wanting to know what it should do. Do you want to use the version that's coming from contributor or from your project? And these are really pretty much the same. So just keeping them selected to use the project is fine. Now, one reason why you might need to take some action on this page is, let's say that the subject matter expert inserts a new image into this contribution document, and it brings it up in here that maybe you have an image with the same name and it's going to the same location, and it's bringing that up as a conflict. Well, so if the subject matter expert did add a new image and it happens to be named the same thing and is in the same place as an image you already have in your project, well, just pretend that I have an image file in here, and I would select contribution. Then I could rename it, or I could select a different path for it. So that's one reason why you might want to use something, might want to take action in this field. But in this case, we just want to keep our snippet and style sheet because they're not changed. And either way, I would want to keep what I have in my project. All right, so select next. And now it's going to scan this, and it's just going to give me a preview. And I go, yep, fine, cool. And that's going to say, all right, I'm going to add this to your project. And you go ahead and do that. And it added it. Select yes. Come in here, and there is the new topic. And you can go in and change it however you want. Now, one final thing before we go, because that's a pretty easy process, is you still have this procedure topic template in here, and maybe you want to keep this. Maybe you want to hold on to it so that in the future, maybe you want to make changes to it and then send it back out to your subject matter experts. So, but you don't want to necessarily, you don't want this to end up in your output. So one thing that you could do is you could create a condition tag. Like I've created one in here called never publish, and I could, in all my targets, I could say exclude. And so then in here, I could go and apply that condition to that file so that its only purpose is to maintain this template. All right, so that is your contributor process. So that's it. That's the review process and the contribution process, both in MadCap Contributor working with Flare. All right, and so once you figure out your system, what methods you want to use to transfer files, and you learn where to put the files and how to get them in, then you just kind of rinse and repeat and just go about your day. All right. Now, again, at the very end of this video, if you want to take a look at the central process for reviews, you can watch that video. If you want to watch the contribution process, the reviews contribution from the subject matter expert using MadCap Contributor, there's that video too. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next time.